Yeah, they didn't clutch it out, but still, they showed that they have what it takes to compete at this top level.
Oh yeah, they showed as well, like, that they're really good at drafting, because it's a bold pick, right? You're picking Veigar. They also picked Draven in that game, so they are showing, like, hey, we want to pick anything, whatever it takes to win the draft and to win the game.
They like to cover their bases. They like to have something that can win early, along with something that can scale. The Lucian, one of those things that will play for the early side. So very strong in those earlier levels.
Yeah, and they do give away the Camille though, Kangas, and I feel that's a bit risky, because we've seen what kind of a power pick Camille has been. Lee Sin is open, however, which Benignus, I assume, is going to be taking here, because Lee Sin does very well into the Camille, the early game pressure. He actually goes for the Wukong instead.
I was expecting a Lee Sin as well, because that was played in both of Omegha's wins earlier against BRU, but no, it's instead going for more of a team fighting style of champion with the Wukong, more of a mid game, but again, covering their bases. Ziggs, pretty decent scaling, Lucian can control early, the Wukong can be this kind of mid-game power spike, ultimate around the objectives team fighter. So they're still hitting multiple different, times in the game that Omegha can be strong.
I actually expected Flash Wolves to pick a potential Renekton here, because right now Omegha Esports did pick up that team fighting composition, but they are putting themselves in a vulnerable position throughout that early game, throughout the early game pressure, because especially Flash Wolves having that Jace right now, and picking up Varus shows like we want to outpoke your Ziggs as well. So before the fights, it's going to be very interesting to watch Flash Wolves against Omegha, because both of them are going to be poking constantly, but then the question is who's going to have the best hard engage, right? And talking about Omegha Esports as well, these guys have pulled off the Ashe Lux combo as well.
Hey.
And while we are already seeing a Lucian and a Ziggs, it's probably not going to happen in this draft, but yet again, like, if you're going to see something crazy, it's going to come from Omegha Esports.
Imagine these three champions with an Ashe Lux. I don't know if it's a good comp.
Probably not.
The amount of range they can throw out, quite scary. Interesting to note about Flash Wolves, because they had just played yesterday against BRU, 3-game series. That last game, such a grinder. BRU was opting for this late scaling Soraka, so Flash Wolves showed multiple styles in that best of 3. The first game, they played aggressive. They played for the early game, something we didn't necessarily expect Flash Wolves to do based on what we've seen so far. This draft so far feels like they can pivot one way or the other. The Camille still doesn't give them some scaling, so I'm really interested to see what this 4th pick is, because this will tell us what style they're going to go for, and it's another scaling champion.
It's another scaling champion, and support hasn't been picked yet by Flash Wolves. We can see Omegha Esports banning out the Rakan, banning out the Thresh. Alistar is still open, however, and I feel like when you ban away that Rakan, when you ban away the Thresh, there's still the Alistar, right? There's also still the Leona, but Alistar is such a strong champion that can still be picked by Flash Wolves. So
yeah.
What are you going to do as Omegha Esports to counter out a potential Alistar that Easton is going to be playing? And that's an Ezreal for Aomine. We talked about it many, many times. He's pulled off the Draven already, and there is a special Ezreal too.
The poke from both of these teams is going to be almost excessive at this point, and a Braum on top of it, absorbing a lot of that range damage, plus the double melee, like the 2.5 melee when you factor in the Jace after he gets his initial combo off.
Ooh, and that's a Gragas. Indeed, as Flash Wolves, you cannot pick the Alistar anymore. Omegha Esports prepared themselves into the Alistar basically and forced Flash Wolves to pick a Gragas. And in this draft right here, Gragas is hard because he is kind of the only thing that Eson could have picked if he wanted a diving champion, because Alistar cannot play into that composition, but Gragas is going to be struggling too. How does he manage to reach Aomine on that Ezreal?
There's a lot of champions that the explosive cast theoretically will be outside the range of.
Yeah.
I will say, Lucian's a little more on the short range side. I feel like that's the target you're going to be looking at here. That's a good point. So even then, it's not like he's an easy target to go for. I am liking what Omegha have put together here, and I'm sure that the fans are also agreeing, because we got to talk about the fandom. This is Brazil's opportunity to prove we deserve a spot in the top 8 in the world. Game 1 on the Rift.
Starting off with a Sapphire Crystal is already, I mean, you're not going to be applying a lot of pressure up against Bruce on that Jace when you're playing against that early game aggressive mid laner. I don't feel like you can get away starting off the game like this right now, and Selina's looking for some aggression already.
Okay, takes a pretty rough trade there, and even drops the control ward, so getting the worst of 2 trades. But going back to that point, this means that probably more scaling. If they're going to be going for that tier as quickly as they can, first back tier purchase is what I'm expecting from Sweets and Almine.
Yeah.
Means that Omegha maybe foregoing the initial couple levels of pressure that they could output and instead saying, we're going to try and scale toward that second dragon, that second herald.
And now I want to see Flash Wolves being super aggressive, right? Like, they have the champions to pull it off. While Cookie is playing on a late game champion, which is the Jax, Ysera with that Camille ultimate, Bruce playing that Jace, and when you have the Varus ultimate is unlocking, I'm expecting Flash Wolves to do a lot of ganking, constant pressure, you know, to destroy that composition of Omegha Esports that skills so hard into the late game.
Cookie does play a pretty aggressive Jax, so historical context-wise, we could definitely see that here. But the first thing that I want to highlight is who's going to be favored at those early objectives. We've seen teams throughout Icons more adapting to the style of teams like J-Team, teams like JDG, Nova. A lot of the WR representatives will go for these early plays at turrets, and Flash Wolves no exception. They actually have shown willingness to send 3 members towards those first dragons right at the 5-minute mark. The question is, will they find any leads before we get to that point?
So while I really like the composition of Flash Wolves, there's one pick that I really love about Omegha Esports. I feel like I'm not going to have enough time to talk about it though, because man, Cookie is hungry for some kills.
He's spotted on the control ward. I'm wondering, he must have realized that and just says, okay, I'm just going to go for the Krugs anyway. It's about the tempo at this point. Selena goes forward, but yeah, Cookie will just get this whole Krug, so that's a successful steal.
And this is good for Omegha Esports, right? Even though Cookie did get some of that jungle, this is fine. As long as you survive the early game, that's what you want. So the one thing that I really love about Omegha Esports composition is the Braum. We haven't seen much Braum, but first of all, to block out the Varus engage, because Braum can block the ultimate, Braum can block the arrows. But secondly, when you combine Braum with an Ezreal and the Lucian, these are both champions that can very easily proc his passive. Lucian with the double shot, Ezreal with his first ability. So they do have the engage. They do have that very early stun, and then also the follow-up by the Braum ultimate. The question is it gonna be enough?
Huya on the Baron lane Lucian. In trouble right now. Isan, okay, maybe he spotted him. I think he would have noticed that with the minions, how far forward they were. Should see that Isan is there. So Isan decides to back off. Something we haven't talked about yet, so I'm happy that we are actually highlighting this, is Huya on that Lucian Baron lane pick. It means that there's just not a massive front line on the top half of the map here. The Wukong can try and be a frontliner per se, but there's going to be a lot of work put in from Selena here.
It's going to flash.
In these fights, yeah, Bruce. Okay, he actually decides to go back in. Isan's nearby, Mega Inferno Bomb used, and Bruce flashes out of the pit.
That was a very late flash. He should have flashed out a little earlier. Perhaps he was waiting to bait them into going a bit too far. Oh, that one was a bit close. Benignos nearly caught him out.
Come on, you flash ult those Benignos.
He didn't see him. That's his excuse. He did not see him.
Yeah, but still. Huya and Ysera just staring each other down as the supports are nearby. Yisan's almost level 5. Selena will show on the wave and just helps Huya push it out and actually hits level 5 off of that. I was worried for a second thinking if they slow push it, Isan could look for an engage.
And Flash Wolves has the better composition to catch out the enemy Baron laner because they do have that Hextech ultimatum on Ysera. It's a very important tool to catch out someone. So Huya has to be very careful with that because it doesn't matter how mobile you are. When you're within the Hextech ultimatum, the walls are just going to stop you and you're going to get killed.
Taking a look at item breakpoints.
Oh, look at Flash Wolves. Look at Flash Wolves.
Oh, okay. What? Oh no, Huya does not realize this is coming. Explosive
he pushed him out of it.
Pushes him closer to the wall.
Oh no!
Huya using both summoner spells. Now Colleen as well. Trying to poke down Isan. Beninga's coming. Selena coming. Flash
that was
Wolves,
horrible.
they get out.
Isan just saved Huya right there. He just saved him. He pushed him out of the Jax stun.
And this is a crucial moment, right at the 4-minute mark. Oh! Isan's back is stopped at the last seconds. First blood to the Lucian.
Oh, this is tragic for Flash Wolves. They should have been the ones with the first blood. Oh, that could have killed him. That could have potentially killed him. But that's the first blood for Omegha Esports instead of Flash Wolves. They should have gotten that one.
And they were behind in gold up to that point just based on the farm that had been happening around the map. Really good news for the WBR.
And every single one has an item right now, which is going to make a fair fight. But the question is actually, are the items of Omegha good enough for that?
This is really good for Lucian. Lucian loves this lane against the Jace.
And this is why we see so many Lucian picks, right? Lucian wins pretty much every single 1v1 on the side lane, especially with the Hullbreaker. And it seems like Omegha Esports is trying to start off this Rift Herald. The thing is, though, they have two very weak early game items. It's the Mana Mune and the Archangel Staff.
But Flash Wolves aren't contesting. They're instead going to trade. Okay. We're maybe looking for a steal there. If the eye was open, that would have gone over to Locking. But it's just a trade. Herald for the Dragon. Can Omegha turn this into that first turret?
And this is fine for Omegha Esports, right? They're fine shaking hands, they're fine scaling into that late game. However, you are giving a Dragon over to Flashels, who does still have Cookie on the Jax, but it's okay, right? Like, you just don't want to force a fight when you have champions that are pretty weak in the early game. And wow, that's an Ezreal ultimate just to push the wave.
Yeah, using it to try and get extra plates for themselves. I had been mentioning at the 4.5 minute mark, this is what teams like Nova will do all the time. Go for a 4-minute to 5-minute 3-champ on one side of the map push on a turret. Omegha didn't get the push. Instead, they got the pick onto Isan, so that's still gold in their pocket, and no turrets have fallen yet. But we see a really heavy priority from the teams that have already qualified for the knockouts on getting as early of turrets as possible.
And Cookie is sitting on the Dragon right now, and Omegha Esports is sitting on the Rift Herald. They're gonna be looking for the first turret, right? And what turret is the best one to get? It's the mid lane turret. And Bruce is trying to fight Huya, but Huya's playing the Lucian, he can deal with it.
Lucian should win this matchup most of the time. Is Locking.
Oh, Locking!
By the Winter's Bite, knocked up with a Cyclone. Oh, and again, Isan's explosive cast. Not enough. Does not save the AD carry, but Bruce with a flank now. This could be rough for Omegha. Beningus goes to the Gromp as Selena dies, and Beningus, no escape path. 2 kills picked up for Flash Wolves.
Mid turret is done, however. Suits, meanwhile, was taking that mid lane turret, finished off his Seraph's Embrace. I like this from Omegha Esports. They are able to get through this early game stage. They've only given away a Dragon, they're playing it safe, they're scaling into the late game. Whew, they may just win this game if they keep playing like this.
It's only 1,000 gold lead as of right now, but still no turrets have been taken. If they can get that first turret.
They got the mid lane turret with the Herald.
Oh, you're right, yeah.
Yeah. They're able to apply the pressure. They got that mid lane turret, which is very important for their composition because Omegha does have Suits on the Ziggs, who is a very good champion to constantly push out waves and not allow Flash Wolves to get the mid lane turret.
And with, again, focusing on those items, they're hitting these breakpoints here where the tiers are fully stacked. They have
Muramana,
upgrades.
Seraph's Embrace, it's all done right now.
And they've done a good job of stopping the split push Hull Breaker in the Jace with their own Hull Breaker champion in the Lucian. 25% win rate right now. I have to keep bringing it up because it was so heavily prioritized in play-ins.
Huya's doing a good job on it though. He's playing it correctly, and Omegha Esports is looking for Isan right here.
Yeah, Isan's been out of position a couple of times already this game and takes half of his health bar in really no trade at all. He's just picked up free for Omegha, so that pushes off the dive potential.
Yeah, yet again, you can clearly see it. Omegha Esports is just playing it safe, even using an Ezreal ultimate just to push out those waves. Just delay the game, push out those waves, leave Huya on the side lane because he should never really lose a 1 versus 1 since he has that Hull Breaker. And interestingly, it's Bruce on a Hull Breaker. Ysera is just going for the Divine Sunderer full damage. So it's going to be a lane swap. Bruce, I assume Bruce is going to be swapped and going to be put up against Huya because he should be the only one able to deal with Huya because he has a Hull Breaker as well.
Interestingly enough, what we've been noticing with Camille players, okay, I'll get back to that as Huya.
Oh!
That is the right combo, Isan. Pulls Huya back, but Hullbreaker might just keep him alive regardless. Might trade back onto Isan. Survives, doesn't trade a kill, but that's all you needed to do.
And that's the Hull Breaker. That's the Hull Breaker. This is what I mean. Huya is not gonna die. It doesn't matter. You don't have that true damage yet on Camille. He's only level 10, so he's not gonna be dealing 100% true damage. So you're not gonna be able to shred right through that Hull Breaker. Very, very well played by Huya. He got all of the abilities out from Flash Wolves, and the next objective is spawning as well.
The big trade there, it's the summoner spells from Huya for 2 ultimates on Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves will have both ultimates up quicker. Maybe that gives them an advantage at this potential Herald fight as we see both teams, they're kind of grouping around this one.
But Omegha also doesn't have a lot of ultimates. Unfortunately, Suits does not have his ultimate, Huya does not have his ultimate, and Aomai neither, but you can see that poking from Suits. He's already dealing a lot of damage.
Yeah, this Ziggs being a menace right now, and you factor in the Ezreal on top, hasn't landed a Mystic shot yet.
Boom!
Boom, there we go. That's one onto Isan. And even Selena blocking the arrows from Locking. Huya doesn't have those summoner spells like we've been saying. The stasis keeps him alive, though.
Ooh, that was close. He could have just died right there, but using the stasis, using his ultimate just to push away Flash Wolves. I like this from Omegha Esports. They're rushing it down, but Flash Wolves, are they going to allow it?
They're throwing out all their poke. Yeah, True Shot Barrage plus the Ziggs bombs. It actually scares Flash Wolves away from contesting.
Yeah, Omegha Esports playing that composition so well, literally just scaring away Flash Wolves from engaging. And that's another Rift Herald going over to Omegha Esports. And the question is it going to be the Dragon as well?
Yeah, if they can get the Dragon, I think it's all right. Huya's trying to stop the push because Flash Wolves stuck around. down.
But
They said, we'll give you the Herald, we'll take the turret, but now they send 3 people up to this turret. I don't think Huya can stop this, but the Mega Inferno Bomb will slow them down. They don't have a wave anymore.
Very, very well played by Omegha Esports.
Oh, they have a wave now.
Not gonna be a turret.
Okay,
They're gonna defend
Suits is
this.
here. Yeah,
oh
no, it's gone. Yeah. It goes way too fast to these Divine Sunderers. I actually really like this from Flash Wolves, sticking in the lane, saying, okay, you get a Herald, as we like to call them, the WCK Heralds, where it goes into the turret and doesn't take it down.
Yeah.
And they trade up in turrets for themselves, so Flash Wolves actually come out majorly ahead here.
And Omegha Esports, indeed, as you said, not even getting that
Selena,
turret.
you're way too far forward. Does not have the backup of Almine, okay.
Man, Omegha Esports doesn't even have that Rift Hut. I'm not sure why they used it in the bot lane. Right? They did get the Dragon, sure. But indeed, Flash Wolves taking a lot for it. And who? Ysera?
As XX Ultimatum throws it into the stasis, but the stasis a little mistimed. Oh, Almine actually goes forward. Beningus now realizing, okay, I don't actually have a lot of backup here. It's just Almine who's really low in the health bar. Flashes to safety, but this should be another turret for Flash Wolves.
Flash Wolves taking turret after turret. Flash Wolves just accelerating their lead at this point. And even though you give away Dragon, this is how you compensate for it, Kangas. Flash Wolves doing a phenomenal job being all over the map. They've already taken 3 turrets, and Omegha Esports has only taken 1 turret, and they had 2 Rift Heralds to do that.
I love how Flash Wolves are allocating Cookie and Ysera. These double Divine Sunderers. Yeah, we think about Hullbreaker as this, oh, you split push in the side lane, you take turrets quickly. Divine Sunderer, as just a singular champion, can actually help you take turrets way faster. That proc can take down almost an entire plate if you're Camille using your Precision Protocol, or if you're the Jax using the Strike as well. So I think the Flash Wolves, they're just reading the meta really well right now, saying, okay, we've seen how valuable turrets are, and we're just saying, we don't have to fight. We don't have to go for these big 5v5s. We can just take the gold from the turrets.
Kangas, Flash Wolves is full AD. Aomine just built an Iceborne Gauntlet on that Ezreal. Oh. That is gonna skill really well into the late game.
Okay, but can Beningus survive? I don't know if he's got enough armor right now. He barely goes down as the rest of Omegha now trying to trade one back, but Flash Wolves, they get away with the kill.
Omegha Esports doing a lot of poke damage, but they're not securing those kills. And that's why the lockdown from Ysera is going to be so important. That Camille ultimate, able to pick up Benignus, able to get them the kills. And that's what it's all about, right? Like, if you get so many pokes, but if you don't get the kill, it doesn't really matter. But then that Iceborne Gauntlet, the armor boots, this Ezreal, Aomine is going to be very, very hard to kill for Flash Wolves in the late game. Ysera is going to be the only one that's going to be able to deal the true damage to chunk down Aomine.
We'll have to wait and see, again, how much the armor actually plays into effect, because if you have a fast game from this point, it might not matter.
That's a Lich Bane Ziggs, by the way. He's going for Lich Bane.
Ooh, so extra turret taking capabilities. Omegha, it's interesting how this is a team from a region, from the teams that we've seen so far, we expect high-tempo gameplay, very fast styles. They're opting for a much slower style, this poke style, but like you had just said, they're not actually landing enough poke. They're getting engaged on too quickly. They don't set up correctly to get these low health bars and then go in with Beningus. In that last instance, it was Beningus getting caught out before the poke could land.
But the poke is gonna increase the later we get into the game, right? Aomine is not gonna be dealing quite as much damage because he did go for the tankier approach, but then you have Suits on that Ziggs. He already has the Rabadon's Death Cap, the Serf's Embrace. That's gonna be a lot of damage. And especially when he reaches level 13, his ultimate, boom, is gonna hurt a lot.
That already did about 1/4 of Locking's health right there. So watch for the scaling of Omegha. Not something I necessarily expected to hear, but also watch for these picks. Bruce Chain CC'd. Goes into the stasis. Now Locking stuck around thinking, okay, I'm safe because they're on the mid laner. But now everybody's right on to the AD carry. Locking's down, Bruce down, maybe Cookie and Isan can trade it back. Isan with an engage, and Cookie's just untouched. Full health right now on this Jax, but there we go. Poke from Almin finally landing.
And there we can see the damage ramping up from Omegha Esports, right? Like, this is the way that they could win this game. And Ysera, that was a big poke, Angus.
Yeah, those Precision Protocol strikes from Ysera are quite lethal. Also going towards a Hullbreaker as a third item, something we have seen Camille's doing so far at Icon. So eventually we'll match that that scaling in the side lane.
But then you're gonna have Suits on that Ziggs who's probably constantly gonna be ulting the side lanes as well. He can cancel out that whole break, right? Like that's why you have the Ziggs. There's the Lich Bane picked up for Ziggs. So about the Lich Bane on Ziggs, you're gonna be more focused on your next basic attack as well after poking. You're gonna do so much damage if an enemy is close to you. Cookie just picked up the Death Stance. This doesn't help him at all against the Ziggs. So I kinda like this approach because Cookie is gonna be diving in, and then as a Ziggs, you're gonna be able to do so much upfront damage to him.
Watch for Suits.
Level 14
Can Suits carry in these fights? Because like you've been saying, the Ziggs damage is coming online. 3 items as we have the dragon spawning. That will be Elder Dragon here. And that we've seen so many games decided at Elder. It's a 3,000 gold lead for Flash Wolves. That feels nice, but that's not like game ending right there. Maybe a pick on Huya would be though. Ysera taking the 1v1. The Hull Breaker's completed. So Huya flashes. Ysera with a follow-up flash. Tactical sweep for the slows. And there we have it. The solo kill for Ysera. Omegha, they started up the dragon. It was just Beningas all alone. So Cookie chasing him down. They haven't utilized their poke. There's no low health bars to the side of Flash Wolves, but Beningas is almost dead. They're gonna lose an inhibitor here. They gotta force something, I guess. They get nothing.
Ysera is just ending the game. Meanwhile, this is horrible for Omegha Esports. They lost Huya. He still won a 27-second death timer. And Flash Wolves with a good engage. And Flash Wolves with the 1v1 win as well.
So well played from Flash Wolves in that instance. They say, okay, we're going to win the 1v1 in the side lane because Hull Breaker's completed on the Camille. There's not much Illusion can do to stop that. And on top of that, we're going to push them off of the Herald. They don't even commit to the Herald. So many regions would have gone, okay, well, we push back Beningas, he's backing, let's start up the Herald, but then all the poke comes through. I think Flash Wolves are realizing, don't even give them a chance to throw poke at us.
And Flash Wolves extending their lead to 5,000 gold right now. They're gonna be the ones looking to start off this Elder Dragon because they want to push their advantage. Because if you just keep delaying it over and over again, when Suits reaches that 4 item mark, when Elmine reaches that 4 item mark, you're not gonna be able to do anything against it anymore.
Huya starting to group with the team, actually taking the Wolves right now. This is the poke that Omegha need.
Eson has a Warmark
Suits to land stuff. As Ysera with the Guardian Angel now completed. Do you throw out the Hextech Ultimatum? Of course you do. Huya, no stasis as it is still on cooldown. Ysera looking for another solo kill. Ysera might just end this game on his own.
Huya is just getting solo boloed over and over again, actually picking up that Solari charge plate with no crit at all. You need to be tankier. And
Ysera's literally going to end the game.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Suits is flashing forward, but Ysera's on the Nexus.
It's over.
It's a backdoor win for game number 1, elimination on the line, and Ysera does it himself.
It's over. It's just over. We were talking about the Elder Dragon, but Ysera doesn't care. He just ends the game. He just solo ended the game with his Hull Breaker. You just told me, Kangas, I don't need a Hull Breaker anymore. Just in a ranked match, all the inhibitors are gone anymore. I hope Ysera just showed you otherwise. You just ended the game with Hull Breaker minions.
All right, context-wise, in my game, I was full.
Ysera that hard carried the game as well. He's normally a role player for the Flash Wolves.
Yeah.
Leading to this, we said Bruce, we said Cookie, but in game 1, it's Ysera.
Yeah. He shows that he can carry as well, and I think his was with that Camille. It was as soon as he got the Hull Breaker, he went for the Divine Thunderblade Rune King, which he struggled a little bit because Lucian went for the Hull Breaker first item. But as soon as Camille finished that Hull Breaker, he knew that he could go into the side lane and he can easily win that 1v1 against Huya, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, the amount of tankiness that was provided, plus the damage that Ysera put out, and you could see it right there. A lot of that coming later on. Huya getting a lot of the damage earlier. That damage bar was blue first, and then more of the orange-red there at the end as Ysera split push to close out this game. Yeah, I mean, a surprise hero for this Flash Wolves squad that looks like they are continuing to evolve here and figure out who they are and how they want to play the game. Again, Locking coming back on in, Baya now back on the substitute role, Bruce swapping around and showing that Ysera can